Hey, how's it going everybody? Faceless Opinion here, welcoming you back to another video. Naruto, we have all heard of it, is one of the most popular animes ever, really. Now knowing me, and how hypercritical I can be, I have many options on what I can be a judgmental asshat on. I could talk about the broken power progression, the questionable narrative decisions, how it handled its romantic relationships, or how Sakura is an absolute garbage character with no redeeming traits. But I'm not going to choose any of those. Instead, I'm going to talk about the characters in the series who are criminally underused. With such a large cast, it's going to be difficult for some people to get their screen time, which is why I'm going to talk about 10 people, or groups of people, who should have had more of an impact than they actually did. I am going to say this right here, don't expect to see characters like Rock Lee or Neji on this list. Yes, I know in Shippuden they were underused, but they had a decent showing in OG Naruto, which is why I am excluding them, though I understand the reason why some would want to include them on a list like this. The point of this list is to talk about those who had extraordinarily little to no moments in both series. I will also not be factoring in any appearances they had in filler or Boruto. Filler is non-canon, so there's no point mentioning it, and Boruto, the least said about that, the better. Now I'm going to break down each person or group into 3 different talking points. First will be why I think they deserve a bigger presence than they originally did. Second, I will talk about what they did in their original run in the series. Then third, I will propose an alternative scenario as where they could have contributed more. With all that out of the way, I present to you my 10 most underutilized characters in Naruto. And no, I don't have them ranked in any sort of way, like whom was done worse than others. This isn't a top 10 list, this is just a regular list. First up would have to be Ino. Out of all the characters, I think Ino has the best jutsu suited for someone who is a ninja. The mind transfer jutsu. That ability can be used for many functions. Espionage, sabotage, reconnaissance, interrogation, assassination, etc, etc, etc. You get the point. The mind transfer jutsu can be used for anything and in theory could be one of the most powerful. That jutsu alone could make Ino one of the best ninjas in the Leaf Village, but that isn't the case. The only thing that Ino does in the series is have a fight with Sakura during the Chunin exams, which was one of the worst fights in the series as a whole, is boy crazy for Sasuke, and then later Sai. Apparently, she also knows medical ninjutsu, which is something I completely forgot about until now. I think I've seen her heal someone maybe once, and that was when Asuma died. That was it. She didn't really do anything during the fight with Hidan and Kakuzu. During the war, she used her jutsu only to relay messages, and then at the end, she ended up marrying Sai. Now, what would be a good alternative for her? I would say have her use the mind transfer jutsu on one of Kakuzu's hearts and use it against him. Now, would she be able to do it? Honestly, I don't know, but let's assume she could. At least she is doing something instead of just standing around. During Pain's assault on the Leaf in the 4th Great Ninja War, I would say have her get more involved in the fights. You can make her an active fighter or put her in a more of a crowd control position. Either is fine. And I would also say if you want her to hook up with Sai, build that relationship up more. It kinda felt like it just happened. Next up to bat would be Tenten. We have all heard the joke that the swing that Naruto sat on as a kid has more screen time than Tenten. And to be honest, it's true. Which is a shame because out of all the Konoha girls, Tenten is my favorite. Mainly because she isn't boy crazy like the others, which is really refreshing since most of the females on this show want someone to dick them. Also factor in that she is a weapon specialist, something that we don't see too often since everyone has some sort of special jutsu, makes her stand out a bit more. Not to mention, she is a part of Team Guy, which is hands down one of the most badass teams, which consist of Might Guy, Rock Lee, and Neji, which should make her a beast in her own right, right? Unfortunately, her tenure in the series is abysmal. In the Chunin exam, she got destroyed by Tamari, which makes it even worse since that fight in the manga was skipped over. Then fast forward to Shippuden, where she ended up fighting a clone of herself and almost lost to. Yikes! Where do I even begin to try and fix this one? One thing I would say is to change her fighting style somewhat. She is a weapon specialist, but how come I only see her using kunai and shuriken, the most common ninja weapons that anybody knows how to use? Who cares if she uses a scroll to fire them? Not that impressive. Me personally, I would have her use a different weapon, like swords, or a bow and arrow, or her bow staff. Apparently 1010 has one, which I didn't even know because she never freaking uses it. Seriously, she needs a cool weapon attack. Maybe something like this? I regret nothing. Anyhow, what can we do with her? Probably have her and Team Guy be at the village when Pain attacks it. I mean, seriously, why were they not there? Maybe flesh out the fights in the Kazekage rescue mission, like where Team Guy was fighting Kisame, or when they were going after Deidara. Any of those instances could have really been used to make 1010 better and make her seem like an equal to Rock Lee and Neji, to make her come off as the badass I know she can be. My third candidate, or candidates in this case, would have to be the Genchuriki. Obviously, I am not talking about Naruto, Gaara, or Killer Bee. I'm referring to the other ones. A majority of the story revolves around them. The Akatsuki were going around and hunting them. The Fourth Great Ninja War started because Obito wanted the 5 nations to surrender the last 2 Genchuriki to him so that he can commence the infinite Tsukuyomi. And the fact that we get extraordinarily little moments with the other Genchuriki, besides the 3 main ones, seemed like a wasted opportunity. I mean, you could have used the other 6 to build upon the Naruto world. Take, for example, we could have seen how the other villages operated and how they treated their Genchuriki. Not to mention, I would have liked to learn more about them, like how did one of them ended up as a rogue ninja? How did the Hidden Waterfall Village have a Genchuriki? Because I was under the impression that only the 5 great nations have them. Or that apparently the leader of the Hidden Mist Village was a Genchuriki and was brainwashed by the Akatsuki and was basically a tyrant. Or how does the Hidden Cloud have 2 Genchuriki? And how come the Raikage didn't give a shit when the Akatsuki abducted one of them, but when they came after Killer Bee, he flipped shit? I know he is his brother, but still, kinda makes him look biased, just saying. I feel like there are so many questions about them and none are really answered. Instead, the only real time you see them is when Obito is doing his version of the 6 Paths of Pain. Then there's the moment when they give Naruto a shard of their power, and that is pretty much it. Now, what can be done to further expand upon them? I would say show the Akatsuki actually hunting them down. I know there were brief instances where it was shown, but I want to be truly expanded upon, where we get to see more of certain Akatsuki members, like Kakazu and Konan, for an example. Another thing that could be done was to have some of the Genchuriki interact with the Leaf Ninjas. They're getting to know one of them. Then they get taken and die when their tailed beast is extracted, which establishes the Akatsuki as a force to be reckoned with, as well as make the Leaf Ninjas think, oh shit, this could happen to Naruto too. We need to stop the Akatsuki, no matter what. The Genchuriki are one of the most important things to the narrative and are not as explored as they should. Definitely one of the bigger wasted opportunities. Next up on the chopping block would be Team Taka, or Team Heavy, or Team Sasuke. Whatever your preferred nomenclature is for this group. You know who I'm talking about. The group that Sasuke handpicked, consisting of Suigetsu, Karin, and Jugo. On paper, these 3 seem like they could be very formidable, which makes sense why Sasuke would pick them. Suigetsu is a skilled swordsman who can also turn himself into a liquidous form. Karin, who's an excellent healer and expert at sensory perception, and Jugo being a tank who can also talk to animals. Each one of them brings something to the table. However, they don't really do anything of note. They are all just side characters. Makes me wonder, why did Sasuke even form this team if he is the one who does all of the work? The only thing of real note I remember them doing was helping Sasuke fight against Killer Bee. Suigetsu and Jugo do not have any particular standoffish fights and are just in the background, while for Karin, she does heal a lot of people, but by God, she is so damn annoying. She's basically Sakura with glasses. Whether or not she is worse than Sakura, I will leave that for you to decide. Now, what can be done to make Taka not be dead weight? I would say have them get involved in more fights. While Sasuke is fighting Itachi, have the others fight Kisame, or have them fight against the Leaf Ninjas who are trying to find Sasuke. Think about it, Sasuke's former team facing off against his current team. I would pay money to see that. I'd also say that make them contribute more during the 5 Kage Summit, that being another instance of Sasuke literally doing everything. Combat aside, have them do their respected quest, like Sugetsu wanting to collect all the swords belonging to the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Though one thing that should be done is to make Karin not be an annoying bitch. And also, have her use that chakra chain ability more. She only does it once and it was out of the blue. It would be nice to see her be more combative than just be a support character. Just saying. Pick number 5 is going to have to go to Sai. He served as Sasuke's replacement for Team 7, and I thought he was a solid pick. The guy is basically an Anbu Black Ops member, already putting him above many others in skills. Speaking of which, he has one of the most unique movesets out of anybody in the series, being able to make his dronks come to life, which can aid him in combat, reconnaissance, or support. He could kill you with abstract art. When he was first introduced in the Tenchi Bridge arc, he had a lot of things going for him. At first, not getting along with Naruto or Sakura, him having a lack of emotions that he would conceal with his fake smile, and him having a different plan from the rest of the team, instead of rescuing Sasuke, his mission was to kill him. And at the end of that arc, Sai learned the importance of emotions and bonds and wanted to work on his own. It's a good character arc for him. However, everything after that point, Sai doesn't really do anything of note. He is just a background character. The only thing I can remember him doing was imprisoning the reanimated shinobi during the war arc. It gets worse for Sai when Sasuke comes back and rejoins Team 7. Man, I remember the moment where Sasuke came back and was alongside Naruto and Sakura. Then you have Sai coming in, riding his art bird, saying, "Don't forget about me, I'm a part of Team 7 too." Then immediately gets knocked off his bird, falls from the sky, and has to get saved by Naruto. Man, I feel bad for Sai. At least he hooked up with Ino though, even though it was kind of rushed. I think Sai needed more time to shine. Have him actually fight some people so that we can see his abilities on full display. The guy is an Anbu after all. I don't know, maybe have him be in the village when Pain was attacking the Hidden Leaf. Another thing to do with him that doesn't involve fighting would have to have him learn and further understand emotions. You could have Ino help him with that. Would be a good way to advance their relationship and make it come off as more natural. Another thing would have to have Sai feel conflicted. Give him a proper moral dilemma. Who is he loyal to, Naruto or Danzo? It would make the viewer think, is Sai going to relapse into his old ways, or will he remain true to who he is now? My next candidate is going to be Team Dosu, or as I call them, the Sound Genin, the group consisting of Dosu, Zaku, and Kin. During the Chunin exams, these three were a force to be reckoned with each being able to manipulate sound to some degree. Dosu using his resonating echo drill, Zaku being able to fire air pressure from the palm of his hands, and Kin being able to do sound-based genjutsu to disorient opponents. I think they had a good showing and were legitimate threats. In the Force of Death, they were able to overcome Sakura, Rock Lee, Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino, only really having an issue when Sasuke regained consciousness and started showing off the power of the curse mark. I thought more was going to be done with them, but their run was short-lived. Dosu, in an attempt to try and fight and kill Sasuke, tried to fight Gaara so that he can fight him in the finals, which led to Dosu getting turned into a bloody paste stain, while Zaku and Kin lost their preliminary matches to Shino and Shikamaru respectively, only then for them to be used as sacrifices to resurrect the first and second Hokage during Orochimaru's fight with the third Hokage. Damn, these guys were done so dirty. How to change that? For one, don't use Zaku and Kin as sacrifices for the reanimation jutsu. If anything, you can just use some random leaf ninjas that no one cares about, like Kabuto's teammates. Instead, have Zaku and Kin be there when Dosu fights Gaara. Dosu would be greatly injured, but his teammates get him the hell out of there, causing Dosu to forfeit out of the finals. Then fast forward to Shippuden during the Tenchi Bridge arc, have those three fight against Naruto, Sakura, Sai, and Yamato, so we can see how they've grown over the time skip. Hell, to make it even more interesting, give the three of them curse marks to show that they are even more dangerous now more than ever. If you want them to do even more, then have them wanting to get revenge on Sasuke for him killing Orochimaru. After the fight with Deidara where Sasuke is all injured, have it to where Team Dosu shows up to kill Sasuke, but they have to get past Team Taka first. It would give Sugetsu, Karin, and Jugo more time to shine as well, which is something that would benefit everybody, though ultimately Team Dosu would all end up dying. At least they would have more of an impact. Alright, next is going to have to be Team 8. Originally I was going to put both Shino and Kurenai on the list as separate entries, but after looking over the team as a whole, I decided to F it, and I'm going to add in Hinata and Kiba as well. Mainly because we don't really see all of them together as a team, working together like the others. To me, they come off as the forgotten team compared to Team Kakashi, Asuma, and Guy. Each one of them skilled in their own right, with Kurenai being a Genjutsu specialist, Hinata having the Byakugan and is trained in the gentle fist technique, Kiba having enhanced senses, making him a good tracker, especially when he's alongside Akamaru, and Shino with his bugs and having a pretty high intelligence. Now, when you get to their involvement in the actual story, things get really shoddy. Let's start with Kurenai. All she did was try to put Itachi under a Genjutsu, which failed. Now, I know she gets a lot of flack for that, but come on, what were you expecting her to do? Trade hands with Itachi Uchiha? Her specialty is Genjutsu. It makes no sense for her to do something else. I think it is absurd that she is ridiculed for that. I mean, Kankuro fought Sasori using puppets. Keep in mind, puppets that he made, but nobody shits on him for it. I think Kurenai gets too much shit for that, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Continuing on, fast forward to Shippuden, and she becomes Asuma's baby mama. Hinata is just obsessed with Naruto. Everything she does kind of revolves around him, even fighting pain, which I get, don't get me wrong, it was ballsy as hell, but we all know she wasn't going to do anything against him. Kiba was only really useful during the Sasuke retrieval arc. Anything after and before is forgettable. Shino in the preliminaries of the Chunin exams defeated Zaku in an extremely brutal way. He made his arms blow up. Then during the Konoha Crush, he fought against Kankuro, which ended in a stalemate. Then after that, he's forgotten, which is a shame because Shino is both a savage and criminally underrated. Honestly, when I first watched Shippuden, I thought that Team Kurenai was going to have their time to shine and face off against the Akatsuki, kind of like how Team Guy and Asuma did, but it never happened. So that is what I would do. I would add in a new arc, before Hidan and Kakuzu, where Team Kurenai encounter one of the Genchuriki who is being hunted by the Akatsuki, and they must protect them. But they ultimately fail, which shows that the Akatsuki are dangerous. Now you may be wondering as to which members of the Akatsuki I would use for this. Honestly, let's get creative. Instead of having one of the ones we already know about, let's create 2 new members. Instead of 10 members, we get 12, because why not? Let's make things interesting. Also, another thing is, I would like to know what happened to the team after it was revealed that Kurenai is pregnant. Did they get a new team leader? Did they go their separate ways? And one last thing, I am genuinely surprised that with all the filler they have, and it is a metric crap ton of it, they never made any about Kurenai having the baby. All I'm gonna say is that you could have had some funny and wholesome moments with that. Another group that I feel like that should be mentioned more than it is would be the samurai. When I found out that samurai were an actual thing in the Naruto verse, I was immediately interested, because we all know in real life that ninja and samurai fight each other often. So I was keen to see what kind of dynamic they would have here. Unfortunately, all that we really know about them is that they reside in the land of iron and are generally neutral. The only time we see the samurai do stuff is during the 5 Kage Summit and the War Arc, but are only minor combatants in both. Which is a shame because I would like to see how capable the samurai really are. Mifune looks like he could cut somebody down, evident by his fight he had with Hanzo. I feel like you could have done more with them, like give us some ninja samurai fights, or have them shown out in the world more often. For example, have the samurai act like the bodyguards for the feudal lords or higher class members of society, as well as showing tension and history between them and shinobi. Another person that I would put in this category of not being used often is Ibuki. When this guy first appeared, he was quite the intimidating presence. Those scars on his head helped too. Not to mention, I would say he has an important job, with him being the commanding officer of the torture and interrogation force. He must be rather good at his job since he takes pride in causing people pain. However, he had limited appearances. First during the Chunin exams when he was proctoring the written exam, then we don't really see him again until Pain's assault of the Leaf Village, where he puts one of the 6 paths into his interrogation chambers, which really didn't do anything to her. Then I think we see him again interrogating Karin, I believe, and the fact that he didn't torture her is disappointing. Come on, we all know she deserves it. Now, when it comes to adding in things where Ibuki could have been more prevalent, it's kind of a hard thing to do, mainly because of his job. He's more often than not going to be staying within the village, which kind of makes sense. Though one thing does come to mind for him to show up more. Have someone bring in a high-profile prisoner for him to interrogate. So I would say, during the Hidan and Kakuzu arc, instead of Kakashi finishing him off, he decides to capture Kakuzu and take him to the Leaf Village, so that they could possibly learn more about the Akatsuki. It gives Ibuki something to do, as well as do something more with Kakuzu as well. Hell, if you want, you could have Kakuzu stay in prison until Pain attacks the Leaf Village, and he joins in on the attack on the Leaf. Maybe get a fight between Kakuzu and Ibuki, perhaps? Just a thought. Then we get to our last entry on the list. And I have to say, this one right here angers me the most, because this person, you could have done so much more with them. Now, you may be wondering who my number 10 pick is, and that would have to go to Anko. Why do I say that? Just because of the little fact of her being a former student of Orochimaru, you know, one of the biggest villains in all of Naruto, the guy who was one of the biggest threats in Part 1. Yeah, him. She was a former student of his. Even has her own curse mark and everything. And you'd think someone like her would be kind of important to the plot and be more proactive, especially given that her former teacher's plotting some shit, but no. All she does is serve as a proctor for the Chunin exams during the Forest of Death sequence, then fast forward all the way to the war arc in Shippuden, where she gets into a fight with Kabuto and loses almost immediately, leading her to be knocked out for the entire war until Sasuke uses her curse mark to revive Orochimaru. Yeah, that sums up her contributions. What a waste. Anko really deserved better, but what can we do to make her more relevant? Well, I got two different ideas. Think of them like branching paths. The first idea is to have her be more involved when it comes to looking for Orochimaru, and I mean obsessed levels. Have her show up during the Sasuke retrieval arc and get involved there. Same thing goes for Tenchi Bridge. Wherever Snake Boy is, she is hot on his trail. Hell, even have her go hunt down Sasuke and Taka, and Kabuto as well. Anything and anybody related to Orochimaru, she sticks her nose into. That is path 1. While for path 2, we go a different route. In this one, she is a sleeper agent who does Orochimaru's dirty work within the village. Then when Orochimaru bites the dust, Kabuto takes the reins and uses Anko to do his dirty work. On this path, we see her being forced to fight against Leaf Ninja, and this is where we see her use her curse mark, because what is the point in giving her one if she never ends up using it? Well, that should about do it. Now, I know I didn't go into detail about every single little thing that a person did on this list. If I did, it would be just a bunch of random stuff that doesn't really matter. Like, for example, during the Hidan and Kakuzu arc, Sai just sat around and watched Naruto train the whole time, until the end where they went to help Kakashi and Team Asuma, where he literally didn't do anything. I mean, is that really worth mentioning? I don't think so. Besides, the video would be too long if I did that for everyone on this list. Anyhow, this is my list of all the characters who I think were underutilized. Now, there might be some people that you may think that should have been on this list, and I'm inclined to agree. I had a lot more people on this list originally. Maybe if this video does well, I might make a part 2 to it, and perhaps I will put both Neji and Rock Lee in it. Don't forget, I think they weren't used to their fullest either. Well, let me know what you think about this video. Do you agree with my choices? Is there somebody that you think should have been on this list? Would you like to see a part 2 to this? Tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, I will catch you all on the flip side.